All right, so 401 sort of like setup structure, what to expect as we work through the next 6 weeks, right? So there's 4 periods of instruction, and then there's 2 periods of sort of like practical exercise and Q&A. Okay, so weeks 1 and 2, we'll talk about stuff. Week 3, we'll do like a Q&A practical exercise. 4 and 5, talk. 6, Q&A practical exercise. Um, with that, a lot of you that have been doing securities for a few minutes, right? So like me, Cindy, Suzanne, who else is on here? Danielle's licensed, has done some stuff. John's done a bunch, right? We will sort of be like your instructors on like a personal level, right? So we're not going to do like breakout inside the breakout. We'll all stay together because otherwise we'll like all be answering like multiple questions of the same type sort of thing. So we'll walk through basics. I'm going to go pretty quick through this, but if at any point, especially since we're such a small group, if there are questions, raise your hand, right? Unmute yourself, just ask the question because especially with this small of a group, like we have plenty of time for questions. And so let me get going on this. I'll pull this up. This is 401 week one, literally like securities basics. Okay. And so present, present, for Key and Peele, if anybody gets that reference. I'm glad you do. Anybody get the Key and Peele reference? Present, Timothy, Aaron? No, nobody, just me. Okay. All right. So the same sort of normal slide stuff. Like you guys know all this stuff. If you're already fully securities licensed, you all know this stuff. Okay. So week one of thank you, Suzanne. I appreciate now I know why me and Suzanne get along so well. All right. So 3 Ds of investing, 3 accounts you need. This is the stuff that you're going to be talking to clients about. All right. And then just basics in terms of types of retirement accounts, what the heck is a mutual fund, rule of 72, high cost of waiting. A lot of this stuff, right? A lot of the pictures that you'll see come directly out of the How Money Works workbook. Do you guys have that workbook, that PDF? It's like 44 pages, something, right? No, yes, maybe. I need help in the Zoom chat, guys. Like I'm not a mind reader on Zoom. Okay, no. Okay, so that's good. I will make sure you guys all have that here when we're done today. Okay. So that's so again, part of the other side of this is making sure that the stuff that I'm using, right? I didn't make it up. Like I just took it straight out of POL, but that way you guys have access to it. Okay. So discipline and diversification, right? Like when it comes to investing, we are the only ones that can pay ourselves first, right? And so we're the only ones that can send ourselves a bill. And so a lot of this stuff is so simple, but just like weight loss, right? I always find a lot of parallels between money and fitness, right? And so think about the scale, right? If you move more and eat less, your weight will go down. It's mathematically certain, right? It's calorie burn. Well, your money is the same. If you save more and spend less, well, your bank account will increase, right? So inverse of the scale, but you get it. It's the same thing. Very simple principles, right? There's two mechanisms, there's two variables. But how many people do we know that actually do that? Very, very few, right? And so when it comes to why don't they do it, it's because there's not generally a form of accountability, right? How many of you have ever tried to work out but never had like a workout partner and you were done within 3 to 5 days because you got tired and you got sick of it and you just didn't want to show up? Most people, right? Think about all of those poor New Year's resolutions that come and go. Well, listen, your money is basically the same. For most people, your money is basically the same because without somebody coming in and checking on you like every month, every 6 weeks, every quarter, right? Like if you knew that somebody was going to come in like 6 weeks and sit down and kind of flip through your stuff, you'd probably tighten your stuff up. You wouldn't want to show them all of the dirty little laundry that you've been door dashing and Uber eating and whatever, right? Like and Amazoning. And so that's where the discipline comes in because we are the only ones that can send ourselves a bill with our name on it. And so how do I ask that to clients, right? Like, I mean, Daniel, you're a responsible adult, right? Like, I mean, you pay your bills. right? Most of the time, right? We know most of the time. But right now, do you get a bill every month that says pay Danielle Chappell $250? No, of course not. None of us do, right? But if you got that bill in the mail and it was just like your car note or your house note or whatever, you would pay it, right? Well, there you go. So Danielle, you're the only one that can send yourself that bill. Why aren't you sending it yet? Guys, remember, this is a business about questions. Sales is all about questions and it's all about a story. Nobody wants you to sell them anything, nor does anyone want to sell anything. And so you have to expose the nightmare and you have to make someone think, right? Listen, business is all about finding a need, creating the value that fits the need, and then the client moves forward. That's it. You have to let themselves talk themselves into it, no matter what. And that's how you can do it. Okay. And then diversification, right? We're just making sure something is balanced. We're not putting all of our eggs in one basket. Now, if your client is super young and they've got like 25 bucks to start a pack, that's going into one mutual fund, right? Don't freak out. You can't diversify that. It's not possible. It's okay, right? But as you start to grow that portfolio, you would start looking at balancing, right? Meaning you've got something in a growth fund, something maybe in an income fund, something, and there are matrices for these. Don't freak out. You don't have to like make all this up on your own. You just have to understand the concept of diversification. The way to explain that to clients, right? The simplest way is like you wouldn't put all of your eggs in one basket, right? I mean, we've all heard that term. Well, same, right? So we're not going to put all of your money into one stock. We don't even do that, right? We're going to put money into a mutual fund for you, meaning you're going to buy one mutual fund and you're going to get exposed to maybe, dozens, if not hundreds of companies because it makes more sense, right? Primarily, Franklin. I know there are matrices for every company out there, Robin. Uh, so just one of the trickier ones, if you ever wanted to use their funds, is like Capital Group, American Funds, because they're off platform, meaning everything is paper. So not really ideal, right? Not really ideal. Any questions on this, guys? Again, these are very, very basic. I'm gonna go pretty quickly through these.
Do you use any other matrices, whatever you want to call it, outside of Franklin Templeton? Do you go with anybody else? Does
Not
anybody?
unless the
I
client
have
has
the
a very,
Franklin
very
one.
specific reason, right?
Okay, just curious.
And and for me, it's because I've built a great relationship with Jeff Egan. He's down here. He's my Franklin Templeton guy, right? How did that happen? Pure chance, right? I was at a event here in the office in Tampa. They came, they were the ones, and we had a conversation. And he said, "Hey, man, I'm here. If you need anything, I'm local. Like, call me." Okay. And that's how that worked out. And then throughout the course of talking to other RVPs and other securities licensed people, the majority of people were using Franklin stuff. And I was like, okay, that doesn't mean it's the like right way. There is no right way. The only right way is to make sure that your client's investing
Correct.
and dollar cost averaging and leveraging their 401(k) and leveraging a Roth and making sure their money's in a money market account. If those things are being done, what's inside of it, I don't want to say is irrelevant, but as long as it's appropriate for their outcome and their desire and their time
Mhm.
horizon, you can't really go wrong. Okay. And so
So if you wanted to invest like 250 a month, would
yeah.
you do it in more than one fund, even if they feel comfortable with only one?
Uh, if somebody has that much to do per month, you can use one of the model portfolios that's pre-broken down percentage wise. And like, because if you are like, look, I don't really know what to do, like in the back of your brain, you just go with one of the model portfolios, right? And inside of that, as long as for most funds, as long as you're putting at least 25 a month into each fund, it'll let you do it, right? And then if you just hit percentage disbursement or allocate by percentage, it will automatically allocate the monthly into that fund portfolio based on the percentages. So that's like the easy, easy button, right? Okay, so dollar cost averaging. So the third D, right? Dollar cost averaging. When we think about dollar cost averaging, now this is not like a made up Primerica thing, guys. Like this is a tried and true method. And what happens is when we are like deliberately investing at the same rate per year, right? Meaning every month, every week, every whatever, right? Invariably, right? Inevitably, you will catch the market at different times as the market moves up and the market moves down. What that means is, right? And the way this chart is broken down is if you were consistently putting money in and the market was constantly going up, right? Well, you would, and if you were putting in the same exact amount of money, right, you would be getting less shares over time, right? So you're investing the same amount of money, but you're getting less shares over time because most people, what they fear, right? They fear the market is going to go up and down, right? Because people are irrational. Of course they fear that. Well, if you look, if you look at the long-term time horizon of the market's always up, right? The market will only be down if you choose a shortened time horizon. Right? And so what is investing? Investing is for the long term. It's for your future self, right? So I tell people, look, this is investing. This isn't betting. We're not trying to time the market. It's about time in the market, right? There's a big difference there. And so when people say, yeah, well, sometimes it's how am I going to know if the market's up or the market's down or whatever? I say, look, you're never going to try to time the market, right? Even great like fund managers and stuff like that, most of them, if they're trying to like beat the market, right? So they're looking for alpha, the difference between the beta, the way their stock is supposed to move, and the index that it's being tracked against, right? That's the way it's supposed to move. The alpha is the difference between that. I mean, if you're getting positive alpha, that means you're beating the average of the index, which is great. But most fund managers, right? Like if you're thinking about like the entire market out there, most of them are barely doing better than the index that they're, basing against. And so if you're just doing something that tracks an index in a lot of ways, you're going to be just fine, right? But think about dollar cost averaging like this, right? If I put in money and the market's up, I get less shares. If I put in the same amount of money and the market's down, I get more shares. But when the market goes back up, now those more shares that I bought have gotten bigger, right? And so if you look across the chart, in month one, it was exactly the same, right? So we put in the same amount of money, we got the same amount of shares. In month two, right, in this rising market, the cost of the shares went up, but I didn't get as much back, right? $600 total return is the way this is broken down. But in the down market, I got way more, right? I got more shares because the cost per share was down. So for us with a mutual fund, that's NAV, right? So net asset value, right? That's the NAV of a mutual fund. So like the NAV on that day was down, right? So I got more shares. If I'm putting in the same money, I get more shares. Fast forward to the end, right? Average cost per share in a consistently rising market is pretty high relative to in the market fluctuating, right? So we end up with almost three times as many shares. And then your dollar cost average share price, right? Your actual value, your total return, you're almost double in the fluctuating market. That's what it's going to look like. And the reason that we dollar cost average for most people is it's much more simple to be on a consistent plan, right? If somebody knows that their insurance is going to come out on this month, their investments are going to come out on this part of the month, and and that's just what they expect, well, that's they work that into their routine, and then it becomes something that they do versus trying to like call them out of the blue and say, dude, I need you to put $6,000 in the market right now. Most people are going to tell you get bent. It's not happening, right? But if we're consistently paying ourselves first, then it also just sort of works out, right? So minimum monthly, no matter what market conditions. So when for us in our sort of parlance and how we speak to clients, that's the shoebox, right? When we talk to clients about the shoebox, obviously we're talking to them during the portion of a life application. But remember, you're talking about the shoebox holistically in terms of everything that we're doing, right? Your shoebox is about, hey, I mean, Suzanne, so like how often are you getting paid? Every 2 weeks? Awesome, right? So if you were gonna take a little money out of that shoebox every money out of the shoebox, out of that check every 2 weeks and put it in your shoebox, and we were going to invest, right? We're going to take care of your life insurance. We're going to invest in that retirement account. We might even put some money in that money market account, start building that separate savings. How much do you think you'd be comfortable taking out of that check every 2 weeks, right? And while you're thinking about that, just for example, I have clients that are 50, 100 a check. I have some that are a few hundred a check. I have some that are a few thousand, because everybody's at a different range, right? That big one at the end for most people that you're talking to, guys, is sort of that throwaway, right? So that one's obviously too much for you. So kind of like for you, where do you think you would land? And shut up and let them answer. Because now when they answer 50, 100, 150, 200, most people are going to tell you somewhere between 100 and 300 check. That's where most people are going to land. So you say, hey, perfect, Robin, listen. So as long as we find something that works for you between like 2 and 600 a month, because that's kind of what you told me, right? Make them say it again. Yeah, perfect. So as long as we find something that works for you inside of that, is that something you'd be open to taking a look at today? Yeah, perfect. For most people, the life insurance is going to be less than 200, right? And so kind of depending on where they really were in that 2 to 600 range, well, figure it out. But that's the setup, right? Because you've got to talk about everything. And this is where doing the whole job sort of unlocks more money for you when you're talking to a client. Because now we're not just talking about the life insurance. Okay. Questions on this? It's pretty straightforward. Okay. All right. This is straight out of the How Money Works workbook. This is the three accounts you need when we're talking to clients, guys. So emergency, this is like your actual emergency fund. I don't care if a client uses a savings account or just keeps like a new like zero in their brain for what is in their checking account. Because I'll be completely honest with you, savings accounts for most people are a completely worthless vehicle. They're worthless. Because like if you ask me, like if I pull up a savings account on my phone right now, right? I can move the money from my savings into my checking within less than a second. If I can move the money that fast, am I really saving it? For most people, right? Are you really saving it? No, you're not because there's zero pain required to move the money from there into there. Now, I have one, right? I have one in there just because it's like it's where I'm like keeping something that I know I need to move quickly, right? And it's just sort of like fenced. And it's no different than sitting in the checking account for me. But that's emergency type money, right? And then short-term account, this is your money market account. This is where your actual like excess cash needs to be sitting so that your money is working for you. Okay. And the way you ask clients about this is like, I mean, hey, Eileen, like, do you have like extra cash just sitting in a savings account right now? And let them answer. And most people will say, well, yeah. I say, great. Do you know how much interest that account paid you this past month? And most of the time they'll say, no. I say, can you do me a favor? You probably have a banking app, right? Everybody do this.
Yes.
Do this for me, guys, while we're here, because I want you to see it too. I mean, you have a banking app. Do you have a savings account, Eileen?
Yes.
Perfect. Do you know how much interest that savings account paid you last month?
No, because I don't really pay attention to my savings account.
Good. That means you're not actually messing with it, so you're actually saving. That's awesome. Can you do me a favor though?
Sure.
Can you open that app and click on your account balance and I mean go back to like either September 30th or October 1st and just look at what the interest payment was for me. And you don't have to tell me the balance. Can you just tell me the interest?
Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. And while you're looking that up, I'll tell you what generally I hear. Now, guys, this is the way I sort of tell people what is actually happening without telling them that I know what's happening. I just say, hey, listen, generally when I ask people that question, they don't know. And part of the reason they don't know is because the money that got deposited was so small. The other reason that they don't know is because they don't look at it and no one ever told them to look at it. But on average, most people tell me that their interest payment was somewhere between 1 cent and $1, depending on how much was actually in the savings account and depending on the quality of the savings account. But the national average interest rate on savings accounts at like banks or credit unions, do you have any idea what that might be, Eileen?
It looks like mine is like one, or what is it, 0.01% or whatever.
So you said 0.01%.
Yeah, it's not very much.
Awesome. So how much was your interest deposit?
Let me go back. Interest deposit.
Hmm. Yeah. So every month, right? Like they're going to pay you an interest payment of some amount.
It only looks like it's like maybe 102.
Cents, right?
Yeah, like yeah,
Like a penny.
right.
Perfect. Awesome. Are you open to giving me at least it doesn't have to be exact, but just give me a ballpark of what's in there right now in terms of your actual cash.
Actual cash is like $50.
Okay. Okay. So let's just use hypothetically, let's use about 5 grand. All right. So 5 grand, right? That's how much somebody has in their savings account times 0.01%. If we were going to do that as a decimal, like an actual decimal, it'd be 0.0001. Okay. So that means, and that's an annual interest rate, guys. So that means on a $5,000 savings account for the year, it's going to pay a client a whopping 50 cents for the year, right? So that means monthly on average, we're looking at about 4 cents, which is why I said somewhere between a penny and a dollar, right? So, so Eileen, if I could give you a free account where you would be getting way more return in terms of interest on your savings, is that something that you would be open to taking a look at?
Yes.
Okay, well, cool. So, like right now, on average, money market accounts are returning somewhere between 3.5% and 4%. So I'll be conservative. I'll say 3.5%. Okay, so your same 5 grand times 3.5% for the year, Eileen, instead of paying you 50 cents, is going to pay you about $175. And so instead of 4 cents a month, your money is going to be making you about 14.50 just to sit there and hang out. So Eileen, would you rather have 4 cents for free or about 15 bucks for free every month?
$15.
15 bucks, perfect. Listen, when we open the account for you, it's going to be very, very simple. We'll be able to open it the exact same way when we open your retirement account, that Roth IRA we're going to open. And the money market account is really free, right? There's no charge. It's basically like a service for our clients. But the interest is real, the money's real, and you can move the money in and move the money out. It just takes a couple of days. But it's worth it if you're making like 15 bucks versus 4 cents every month extra, right?
Right.
Yeah, totally worth it. So like that's the difference but how you're going to help someone immediately. And guys, if you show somebody that, how quickly do you think they're going to want to switch? Like for real?
Immediately.
Like instantly. And the beauty is they don't even have to switch. They're just going to open the account, right? Now, really quick on the money market side, when you open someone a money market account, whatever you put in there initially is fenced for 30 days. Meaning, if we open the account with 100 grand, well, if they call you a week later and say, oh, I need 50 of that, you're going to say, you're SOL. We got to wait. You either got to wait or it's a boatload of paperwork. So whenever I open an account for somebody, if they're considering moving a large sum initially, I say, listen, right, I know you want to move the 50 grand. Let's just move 25, right? Let's move 25 because if we move all of it and God forbid you needed some of it, we're gonna have to wait for 30 days, otherwise it's gonna be very, very difficult. So let's just move a good portion of it. I don't even care if you just put 1,000 in to open it, and then we'll move the rest of it later, right? Now they will be missing out on that, 1 month's worth of interest, but move a good portion of it. But force them to tell you exactly what they might need, or if they've got extra money still on the side, then perfect. Like don't worry about it. Um, Robin, the just you just go to their bank app. Hey, I mean, Robin, you use an app for your banking, I'm guessing, if you're like most people, right?
Yes.
Yeah, can you just go to your bank app really quick for me? Go to your account and look at the last interest deposit that they gave you. Probably somewhere
Yeah.
around like September 30th or the 1st.
Do we just ask them to search for it? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I
How
was just
else
curious.
do you want
What's
me
the
to
easiest way to have them find it?
ask them to
Yeah.
look for it?
Okay.
So let like
Just
pause, right?
search the records. Yeah.
No, no, no.
Their
Stop it.
deposits.
Stop. You're too smart for your own good. You're overcomplicating the simplest thing. And this is what everybody does, right? This is what everybody does. But it's just talk to people like people. Like if you were gonna go look for it yourself, where would you go look? You would go look at the account and just kind of
My records.
you would just go to the account
Yeah, I
and
was just looking. That's what I was like,
yeah,
just curious how you explain that.
you can pull a state. I mean, you can pull a statement, or if you just go to like your account and just kind of scroll the recent transactions, especially if we're like at close to the beginning or end of the month, it's gonna be like right there, right? And it'll be a deposit instead of a withdrawal. All right, so that's the money market side of things, guys. That one's easy peasy, right? And then the wealth building side is retirement accounts, right? That's future you money. That's that's like FIN, like financial independence number time, right? So those are the three accounts you need. Oh, look at me, I got ahead of myself. All right. Money market account. So this is really like your savings account on steroids, right? We already hit a lot of these things, but it's free for clients. There's no sales charges, right? And the yield is always going to be tied to inflation, federal funds rate. It's really more like the 10-year treasury. But think about it like this, right? When the Fed lowered interest rates by a quarter basis point a few weeks ago, right? Maybe a month ago by now, when they did that, banks also lowered savings rates, right? So CD rates would have gone down slightly, like money market accounts went down slightly, right? Bond yields would have gone down slightly, right? Those all of those things are tied to that, right? So if rates to borrow money go down, rates for savings go down as well. And so whenever you're talking to a client about money market accounts, you always have to sort of remind them, right? That say, hey, the rate fluctuates, the rate floats. Like, how sometimes your credit card isn't always the same because it's maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, right? Same thing with savings. As interest rates move, so do savings rates. Okay. Probably one of the hardest things for some of us in the beginning is not overwhelming the client with information because we have literally learned so much and we want to share so much with them, but they don't need to know all of that. Truthfully, they don't. Okay. But a money market account, just so you guys know, right? There is no sales charge. So if a client moves X dollars, there will be X dollars. Conversely, if when we open a uh, retirement account or any other type of account that's not a money market account, there will be a sales charge because we use Class A mutual fund. Okay. So sales charge related to how big the account is, breakpoints within that will determine the actual like sales charge. And those are specific per fund and per account. Okay. So types of retirement accounts, again, very, very simple, right? So Roth IRAs, traditionals would be like an individual type IRA, but on a traditional side, taxed identically to your 401k, 403b, 457, right? So that's gross income, right? Roth is net income based. Does everyone understand the difference between Roth and traditional? Better yet, in the chat, does anyone not understand? Because I won't belabor these too much. Okay, good. So if we all understand the difference here, the biggest things that we need to be able to highlight to our clients is understanding the different tax implications, right? Traditional IRA, just like their 401k, 403b, 457, whatever they have, that money is coming out of their check before taxes. Meaning whatever this account grows and becomes, they've never paid taxes on that money, which means eventually they will. Okay. Right now, RMDs start at 73, required minimum distributions. Okay. In a Roth, and we'll come back to the RMD. In a Roth, there are no required minimum distributions. There are no taxes owed on the money as long as the account's been held for 5 years, right? Because the money that all went into that Roth IRA was taken out of your net check, meaning you paid taxes on it already, you put the money in, never taxed again. But that's also why the IRS is only going to let you put in up to 7 per year or up to 8 if you're over 50 or above, right? Those are called catch up contributions, not catch up like Heinz, right? But catch up. The IRS is letting you put in more. Okay. And as long as someone is working and has earned income, they can put money in. Um, We'll we'll kind of talk some more about 401k versus Roth and sort of like where people should land in terms of, let's pull up a whiteboard. Okay. So when you guys talk to most people are they have their work plan, they have their 401k, that's where they're putting their money, right? On average, most 401k type plans are going to be giving somewhere between a 3 and 6% match. Okay. Your client should be taking all of that money. The thing that bothers me the most is when someone says, "Oh yeah, my job gives me a 5% match." I say, "Perfect. Are you doing all 5%?" They say, "No, I'm doing 2." I say, "Well, I love that you're doing something, right? I love that you're investing. It's affirm, answer, close. Affirm, answer, close. Affirm, answer, close, right? Always. I love that you're doing the 2%. Can I ask you a question? Are you super comfortable leaving 3% of your employer's money not in your account every month?" And they go, "Huh?" You say, "Listen, I mean, if your job is willing to give you, let's just say 6%, and you're only doing 2, well, that's 4% of their money that you should have taken every month. Listen, your 401k matching program is the only place that I can guarantee you're going to double your investment every time you do it. You should probably do it, don't you think? If you knew you were going to double your money every time you put it in, wouldn't you do it?" Well, yeah. Perfect. So let's do it, right? Because if you're making 10 grand a month, right, and you're only putting in 2%, well, that's 200 a month of your money plus 200 a month of your job's money. But if you were taking all 6%, right, that'd be 600 of your money and 600 of their money, right? So right now you're investing 400 a month when you should be putting in 1,200 a month, half of which is your boss's money, right? Shouldn't we be doing 1,200 a month when the 600 that they're giving you right now is a 50% increase over what you're already doing on your own and their money, just from their money? Guys, your people need to see this, right? So that's one way to talk through it. The other way is people are saying, "Oh yeah, my job gives me like 5%, right? And I'm doing 10." But you know what they're not doing usually in those cases? What do you think, guys? If they're just like sort of like going ham on their 401k, what are they usually not doing? Anybody got a guess? Nobody? Yeah.
Investing?
Well, if they're putting money into their 401k, Eileen, they are investing, right? Thank you, Cindy. Yes. If they're putting that much into their 401k, they're generally not leveraging a Roth. If they're not leveraging a Roth, they're losing the greatest tax-free potential income source that they'll ever have in the future. All right. And so the thing you need to ask people in that situation is, "Hey, I love that you're doing that much right now." So that means you're already maxing out your Roth every year, right? You're putting in 7 or 8K a year, depending on their age. And most people are gonna go, what? But listen, if you're not maxing out your Roth, we should do something that's going to give you tax-free growth in the future forever. Am I right? Yeah, for sure. Right. And so that's where they should be putting that money. So in that situation, you would have them bring their 401k back to the match, and then that extra 5% is what should go into that Roth. Okay. And then once they're doing their 401k max, their Roth max, and they've got like 6 months probably worth of income in a money market. Now we can come back to the 401k and start looking there, right? And so it's sort of like, have you ever seen those like champagne things at weddings where you like fill up the top cup and then it like and it fills up those cups and then keeps spilling and it fills up those cups and then it keeps spilling and fills up those cups? It's kind of what it's like, right? You got to fill the buckets, right? But you can't really fill them all at the same time. We don't have the money for that. So we have to kind of keep filling the buckets, and then as they fill, now we can keep going and start filling different buckets, right? But that's sort of the way to think about that. All right, let's get through this real quick. I already realized it's 9:45. Good God. All right. Savers credit, right? So leverage this, guys. Just so you know, right? Like even, and this is generally for some of your lower income clients. If you want to screenshot this, please do take a look at this. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on here. We're not tax professionals, obviously, but you should know some of this. And I haven't looked at the 2025, or I haven't looked at the 2025 yet, and I haven't looked to see if there were changes or implications from the One Big Beautiful Bill, because there were a lot of changes for that. But again, remember, your disclaimer is always, listen, I'm not a tax professional. I know enough to be dangerous in terms of things that you should be doing, and I'll explain your accounts to you, but you should always seek the advice of your accountant or a tax professional if you don't have one. Like you need to be giving that out as a disclaimer. Okay. Types of retirement accounts, I kind of like pre-loaded this for you, right? But it's free money. Your clients need to be taking advantage of all of the free money that's out there. And again, leverage it as a question. Always leverage it as a question. Wouldn't you want to be doubling your investment? If you knew you could double your money every time you invested, wouldn't you want to do that? Yes. Right. And that's your match from your employer. Okay. Different levels of maxes along the way, right? So 401k, 23.5 from you personally, your employer then can take you up to 70. Different rules on like solo 401ks, right? So like a solo K, if you're self-employed and you have a solo 401k, you can have that too. You can't pay yourself the full amount and deduct that full amount. There are limits on the deduction for that, but again, not a tax professional. Call your accountant. What's inside? Okay, so for us, guys, we are licensed in SIE 663. Okay, that means that we do mutual funds. We don't have a Series 7 license. We do not pick specific stocks. So everything that we do for a client is based on a mutual fund platform primarily, right? Unless it's an annuity, right? But everything is basically a mutual fund. Who thinks they can explain a mutual fund very, very simply? Anybody? Nobody? Somebody besides Robin. Does anyone think they can explain a mutual fund? How have you guys explained mutual funds to your clients? Anybody?
Well, I
Buell.
haven't explained any mutual fund to anyone because I'm still taking my 63. But I took Tammy's class and she says, think of it as your everyday life, like what you do in the everyday life. So, did you get up and did you make coffee? So, who was your coffee pot made with? What type of coffee did you drink? Folgers. So, that's one of the things. Did you go for a run? Did you put on your Nikes? And just your everyday life. Did you put on your Apple Watch? And all of those different things are a mutual fund. So,
Um,
did you go through the drive-through at McDonald's? That could be one of the things.
so sort of, right? The better way to think of a mutual fund, right, Kathy, and I don't care if you Googled it or not, right? But the what you just put in the chat is a great way to think about it, right? It's a basket of different companies. They don't necessarily balance each other out, right? And so because not every mutual fund is diverse. A mutual fund has to be named for what it's designed to do, right? So a growth fund, an income fund, a XYZ bond fund, right? Right. And so it just because you own a mutual fund doesn't necessarily mean that you have diversification in one US. Um, Sort of, right? The better way to think about it, guys, is like or a simple way to think about it is like, do y'all remember like those old houses? Like some of the bathroom windows would have like the little plinks of glass, like the little squares of glass. There'd be like 20 of them, right? Versus like a sliding glass door. Okay. Well, if you throw a baseball through a sliding glass door, you probably don't have a sliding glass door anymore, right? Because the whole thing crashes. Okay. Well, that sliding glass door is like having all of your money in one stock, one company. Okay. Versus the crazy looking old window, you throw a baseball through that and then book it, you might lose one of the squares, but you still basically have a window. Okay. Well, that one little square that fell out is that one company that maybe had a bad day or a bad quarter or a bad year. Similar inside of a mutual fund, right? So, Kathy, when you said, yeah, it's a basket of goods, right? And so they all may generally trend in the same direction, but they all might move in different amounts. Okay. But really, what it comes down to is like not all of your eggs are in one basket. Yeah, it's a multi-pane window. There you go. Right. Robin, you've said that because I used that when we were with clients before. Right. And so that's a great way to think about it. And it's a very, very simple way to think about it as well. Mutual funds are professionally managed, right? The fund manager's job is to make the clients money, make the shareholders money, right? So they're never really going to do anything that's going to be bad for the fund, right? They're never going to do anything that goes against what the fund is designed to do. It's professionally managed, right? Like, do you have time to sit and watch the market all day, every day? No, you have a job. So wouldn't it make sense to have your money in something that was being professionally managed? Perfect. That's a mutual fund, right? And it's the simplest way to get a snapshot of a bunch of different companies all at once with your goals in mind. That's the best way to think about it, guys, because we're picking funds that are designed based around the client's profile, right? Whether they're conservative, moderate, they have like a growth profile, growth and income, aggressive growth. And based on the questions that we ask inside of the either Easy Key or the shareholder account manager, you can't screw it up. You literally can't screw it up because if you ask the questions and you click the button based on the client's like timeline and horizon, it's going to give you a list of funds that are based on those answers, right? So you really can't screw it up. Yeah. And Cindy's got a great point, right? The fund manager's pay and bonuses and contracts are generally tied to the performance of the actual fund. Hell yeah, they're motivated to do a good job, right? And so that's what goes into every one of our investments because we only do mutual funds. Now, Robin, to your question about the 65 stuff, right? Some of those different funds, again, you're still talking about a fund, right? It's still, but it's a profession, it's a different type of managed fund. And the way that you can move a client's money in and out is different as well because there's no churning happening there because you're just doing it because it's basically a wrap fee. Okay. Different, totally different thing. Rule of 72, I don't think I need to like belabor this. We should probably all have this down, right? But the way to sort of make sure clients understand this and so that they can kind of get it is if you already spoke to them about what their checking account is getting or their savings account and it was 0.01% and you come to the rule of 72 and the lowest one on here is 3% and it took 48 years for 10 grand to turn into 48. Robin, if it took that long for money to double at 3%, how long would it take for your checking account to double at 0.01%? I mean, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure none of us are going to be alive, right? I mean, we could pull out a calculator and find out, but it's going to be a long, long time. It's probably like 1,000 years. I don't know. Somebody can divide 72 by 0.01% for me and tell me what it is. It's probably 15,000 years. It's probably insane, right? So we won't belabor this. But the high cost of waiting. Okay. Guys, this is the chart that will sort of like make people have that like aha moment in terms of holy moly, I should have started yesterday, right? 7,200. There you go. I knew it was a long time. Long freaking time. But there you go, right? Like ain't none of us are gonna be around, right? If we're waiting on your money to double at your current savings account interest rate, right? But here's the high cost of waiting, and I chopped out like the middle 30, 40 years just to be able to get it all on one slide. But just look at this. And if you guys have never seen this before, I'll explain it, right? There's two people, right? A and B. A maxes out her Roth IRA for ages 22 to 29 and then never puts in another dollar. She stops. B doesn't start until 30, but goes every year until 67, doesn't miss a year, 7,000 on the dot, maxes it out every time. Look who has more money at the end. Look who has more money. Why? Because of compounding, because of the rule of 72. She had more money in the market sooner and she let it double faster, right? Oh, by the way, she put in $210,000 less. Here's the real thing. Here's the real question. Mercedes, if she had figured out how to put in 7 grand a year from the time she was 22, do you think she'd have actually stopped at 30? No, hell no. And if she never stopped, do you know how much money this would actually be? About 4.5, 4.6. That's the high cost of waiting, right? And if you want to be like mean about it, you can just pull up the high cost of waiting calculator, right? And this one I actually stole from Lucchese because she showed it one day and I was like, man, I like that. So I use the waiting calculator. I have the Ramsey calculator still because it's back and forth, right? This one is very, very valuable for showing people the impact, right? Because look, if I can show someone how to put away $100 a month and they can start at 21, who cares, right? 67 at a 9% rate of return. Nine's very conservative because S&P has given us an average of like 9.5. Different places will tell you between 10 and 12, but on average, right? At $100 a month, right? They're going to have about 817,000 by the end, but look how much they lose just by waiting to start until they're 22. So if I could teach your, 21-year-old how to put away $100 a month right now, would you would you like to show them so that they don't lose about $71,000 just by waiting until next year? It's all about questions, guys. It's all about questions. This one's huge, right? This one's huge because you lose that first year, man, you lose almost 10%. It's probably closer to 8, but like God bless. That's a lot. Just for waiting one year. $1,200 difference for the year turned into 71,000 loss of compounding because of the rule 72, right? Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Google Fin calculator schedulizer. Here, I'll just give you the thing, guys. We don't got to make it hard. Boom. There you go. In the chat. We're we're cooked, chat, right? And then decreasing responsibility. And so decreasing responsibility, obviously, we know this one, right? No need to belabor this one. But guys, these are the basic things that need to be explained to clients. Now, a lot of what we went over today, very, very simple stuff, right? But remember, it's not about how complicated the thing is that you're explaining to somebody. It's how you explain it and how you ask the questions and how you get them to answer you, just like anything else, right? Because nothing that I went over today was any sort of prospectus, any sort of actual offering. But I promise you, had you put me in front of any of your clients that don't have retirement accounts, I wouldn't have had to show them anything. They would have said, okay, well, how do we get started? Right? I mean, if they didn't have anything and I showed them that today, even if we were just getting started with like 25 or $50 a month, they would have done it because of the questions, right? Because of the questions. All right, guys. Couple minutes. What do you guys got? Anything? While you're thinking of something or thinking of the bravery to ask, was that helpful? Or was that or was that too basic and too redundant? Okay, helpful. How could it be better? How can it be more helpful? Because I really don't want to redo this again in 6 weeks with just that, right? I want it to be more helpful. Now, obviously, the more experienced you are, like for Cindy, that was not helpful, right? Because Cindy and I built this, right? And so for her, not helpful. For John, probably also not super helpful. Maybe some of the way I asked questions, right? Well, Robin, why? So let's back up. Robin, why did you know most of this?
Because I've been reaching out to people, researching it and doing it with people.
So the last one more than the rest of it, right? You know most of this because you've sat on a bunch of different securities appointments with me over the last 6 months to a year. And so you know this material, especially the way I say it, because you've sat and watched me do it, right? And so that's the difference, guys, right? So I can't stress this to you enough. Like with your people, now that your security is licensed, you need to be getting in there with recruits and opening money market accounts and opening Roth IRAs, even just even if it's just 25 bucks a month. One, you need the practice for going through Easy Key and going through Sam and doing it. Two, they need it. I promise you, they need it because they need the money market account so they can open a MAP account. Okay. And even listen, because I did this to myself a lot in the beginning, I would be like, Jim's an idiot. He's never going to get licensed. He doesn't need a MAP account. But that was a disservice to Jim because even if he didn't stick around to get a MAP account, he should have been a client and he still needed a money market account because his money was not working for him otherwise. Right? So quit quit prejudging, even though we're in the business and we say we don't prejudge people, we still do. We still do. And listen, I'd have to go back and I'm gonna stop the recording. All right. Hold on.